Well, this is what I get for having appointments and forgetting to check my watch. Today we're going to talk about the brain on fear. Now, the more I understand about how our neuro system works and our brain chemistry work together, and really deeply understand how we are hardwired to deal with two very specific things, the more impressed I am with the sophistication of our system, and at the same time, the more I can see and understand why we get in the messes we get in. And in a way, it's not our fault, although if we understand it, we can manage it, at least manage it better, even if we can't eliminate it altogether. I think it helps if you understand what's happening so that you don't unnecessarily blame others. This is one of the key insights that I have. So we are hardwired to do two things: to connect to others and to protect ourselves. So they're kind of at odds with each other, not totally. But when we feel we have to protect ourselves, we are not interested in connection. Connection gets in the way. And if you think back about some of the situations that you've been in, maybe you've inadvertently hurt somebody because you were concerned or focused in another area. And that concern, that needing to protect yourself, gives you permission to just slough off those relationships, to disregard other people. And that can hurt their feelings. And it's not that you intend it, but you're hardwired to do that. When you're worried about you, it is really hard to worry about other people, especially people that aren't like really passionately close. So learning to understand your own system, to see where you are, to be conscious of what you're feeling, whether you have anxiety, whether you feel stressed, whether you're concerned, whether you're feeling like you've got to keep your distance. All of those feelings are feelings from here. And so the fear place, the amygdala, the one that's charged with keeping you safe, directs all the other systems to that end. So the only thing you're paying attention to, the only thing you can hear, the only things you really see, and the only things you have any interest in are things that are going to keep you safe. So you're sifting all the input that you're getting from other people and from your environment with that in mind. Now, because we're hardwired to connect, other people sense your fear. They know that there's something concerning you. Now, because of who we are, we make an assumption that it's us. Why else would you be afraid if I'm around you? It must be something I'm doing, or it must be me in some way. And if I don't understand that, and I'm concerned about that, where do I go? Not to my happy place. I go back here. So I'm doing the same thing. So we're two people who want to, who care about each other, want to interchange, and what we're doing is reinforcing the fear we each have. That's not a recipe for success as I know it. And yet it's one that we run into all the time. If you're a boss and you come to work after a fight with your spouse and you storm through the place, everybody you pass is going, oh my God, right? Putting them right back here. Now, there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. And it's really good that you're designed this way, because when you're really in a fight or flight thing, you don't want any distractions. And that's what it does. It makes sure you have no distractions from fight or flight. However, if you're trying to do work, or you have to talk to people, or you're going to run a meeting, or you're going to have an interview, this is not helpful. Because the signals you're going to send out are signals that push everybody away from you. So trying to get agreement, trying to share an understanding, trying to work through something that has a lot of emotional content, it's not going to happen. Nobody is present for that. Nobody can hear the new ideas, can hear the solutions to anything other than what's going to keep me safe. So you're sifting all the information, all the chatter back and forth is being sifted to know how you can be okay. And that's just not productive if productive is what you also need to be. So you are the one who manages that. Nobody else can do that for you. You need to think about how you're feeling. You have to recognize those states in yourself. And then you need to develop skills to move yourself from here to here. Now, the good news is that we've got a bunch of brains, and they're all helpful, but in different ways. The brain that helps the most, I think, in this kind of situation is actually our heart brain. Now, the heart math people have done a ton of research about the heart. The heart has an energy projection that goes way out. I believe some people call this the aura and that kind of stuff, but I think that resonance is what people are experiencing. And you can actually measure it. There are ways of doing that. And if you're interested, connect with me and I'll share with you what I know. But the heart system is the one that does connect, that does form that glue between people that makes you really care about each other and have concern for each other, have empathy with each other, compassion for each other. So when you're scared and you can't access that, then you aren't feeling those things. And that makes other people nervous, of course, because they don't feel connected to you. So learning how to stimulate or be in your heart instead of back here in your head is really good. The neocortex is the brain, the executive brain, that makes decisions, which is always looking for possibilities. This is where we create, one of the places where we create or co-create from. So trying to solve problems with others, it really helps to be here because you have access to each other's skills and abilities, that kind of thing. When you're back here, you don't have access to each other's skills and abilities because nobody's willing to share them. So it just gets in your way. The gut brain is also there. And the gut brain is kind of interesting because it really does have something to do with your general health. And if you're not healthy in a variety of ways, and it doesn't mean you're sick, it just means that maybe you're not getting the nutrients, you don't have the bacteria in your gut that you need, because the kind of bacteria that you have also help you process information in different ways. So if your gut is not feeling well, it's hard for the rest of you to feel well as well. You want to have all the brains working in the same direction. And then the concerns that you have are not fear-based, but you can still see and access those concepts, those understandings, without sacrificing the more creative part or the more connected part. So connection is really key. And when we're working with other people, you really want them to like you. You really want them to resonate with you. You really want to feel like you're all on the same page. And if you're back here, that's not going to happen because everybody's on their own page at that point. They have to pay attention to their own page. And so you're not on the same page at all. It makes it impossible to do that. The other thing that's kind of interesting for me about when we're hardwired to protect ourselves and we're in that protective state, because we're so focused, we do not see, hear, or remember anything that's not concerned with our own self-protection. Now, isn't that interesting? So if somebody is fearful, if you have put somebody in their own amygdala, maybe you're not really there, but you've used words or phrases that trigger people, then they are back here and they can't hear anything else you say. So you can have brilliant ideas, you can have insightful solutions, and nobody's paying attention because they're concerned about being safe, because the words you've used, the phrases you've used, have put them in a place where they feel they have to self-protect. So they're not accessing any of their other brains either, even if they're conscious about those brains. So you have actually a lot of power to be able to choreograph and to maintain a space that gets you the kinds of results you want. But you have to pay attention to these things. You have to pay attention to your own energetic space, and you have to pay attention to the words you use. Because if the words you use have triggers, then it doesn't matter what you're going to say, because they're just not going to hear. I had an insight the other day when I had an exchange with a person who totally misunderstood what I said. Now, when I feel misunderstood, I have a natural propensity to explain. But because this person was really sure that they knew what they heard and what they understood, they were not open to influence. So everything that I said in terms of trying to explain, they saw as being argumentative. That was a huge insight for me, because I've been told that I'm argumentative and I don't feel like I am. But I do want to explain it. I do want to see that you understand what I'm trying to say. And if you understand it, I'm fine with that. You don't have to agree, but I do have to feel like you understand. So have you been in situations where you're sort of feeling contentious and that's not your intent, but you're kind of talking over each other? There's not a connection. Then there's an emotional charge somewhere in the system, either in you or in the other person, that is blocking that ability to connect. So being able to step back, reassess the situation, change the tone of voice, change your energy. Don't be so passionate about things. Be more calm and relational about it. Shift the conversation to one where you can reestablish that connection, make that connection with the other person, and then you can go back and explain or reframe or work to shift their perception, because they'll be more open. But when they're very much into being right, trying to make a point, those kinds of things, there's an intensity that brings forth this amygdala energy, which is self-protecting, not open to influence. And it makes it hard to connect or to get your point across or to be really understood. Sometimes you just have to call it a day because there's just too much energy to really be able